Yes, but.
Hey! Hi folks, Rick Berube here live at the Success Center. Okay, and we have people starting to show up too. This is great with Dan Mumm. Yeah. Okay, yesterday with Mike Ferry was great. Great talking with Mike. Such a great coach, obviously great training. And so him and I we have a great way of speaking to each other, which is a lot of fun. And I know you're coached by them too.
Yep.
And what's that?
A big fan.
Big fan of Mike Ferry, yes, he's great. And a lot of good comments yesterday too, so thank you for watching. All right, so today I want to call this almost a warning, okay? Look, I've been doing this for 35 years, and Mike kind of and I alluded to this yesterday as well. I've been doing this for 35 years, okay? So 10 weeks ago, the market was cranking, everything was rocking, and then the pandemic happened. And everybody thought the market would go away, but as you have told them numbers-wise, it may have, 30% of it may have disappeared. It may have been 35% at the worst, right?
As far as number of transactions closed, yeah.
Transactions closed, right?
Off of what though? So like we should actually talk about that.
Yeah.
30% below the month before, or
right?
Because if you compare year over year, yeah, this May compared to last May was way different.
Right.
But the number of transactions went down to about, depending on how you measure it, around 2,000 closings in May, which is low. Like in May, you usually see a lot of closings because that's your peak selling season.
Right, right. So but people think it disappeared when you're prospecting. They think, oh my God, there's nothing going on. That's not true. A pandemic, all these people losing their jobs, and the market's still cranking at about 75%, which to me means that's an incredible real estate market, right? Now, 11 weeks later, it's almost back to the same pace prior to, right?
Yeah, or past it. With regard to price, it's black and white. The prices are higher than they were.
The prices are higher because the inventory's low.
Right. So
people are still just getting back to work. Some people have lost their jobs and will probably be doing other jobs. And the market is back to, let's call it just about 100%, or in some cases more, than it was prior to this. We saw this rioting going on, which hopefully is just about over. So my point is, consumer confidence is not 100% back yet, and the market's clipping almost at what it was before, or in some cases more. That's incredible. To me, doing this, I've never seen anything like that before. Stock market's up another 400 points. It's back over 26. From a high of 20, was down to 17.5. So all the indicators are there for, we could go on an incredible run here. We really could. If you have
inventory.
Inventory.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to talk about.
Let's hear your spiel. I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay. So I've been through a couple crazy. I've been through the mid to late 80s, and then late 80s, 90s it crashed. Okay, the first big crisis I've been through. And then it started, the last time that happened, about 2006, which was kind of our 2013, 14 here, everyone thought it was over. Oh my God, remember the bubble's coming. Not only did the bubble not come, but it went up even further. 2006 and 7, it was ridiculous. In California right now, I just talked to somebody yesterday, they offered $50,000, there's 6 offers on the property, offered $50,000 more to make sure they got it in Orange County. It's been happening now for a while. That means inventory is incredibly low. I'm hoping, because we're in all 3 states, that people in California realize, well, I could sell my house in California and move to Nevada, pay for my house cash, and still have half my money to live over and less taxes and cost of living. That would be great for our market. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be great. So we're heading into a market that it's very possible that even though we all think it's tight inventory, I'll give you an example. When I started this job 6 years ago, Las Vegas had about 38,000 homes on the market. What do we have now?
4,000 or 5,000?
Yeah.
You look at it.
Homes, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And if you had condos in it, might be 6,000.
Right.
Yeah. That's low for this many people. But if that continues, that trend, which has been happening for a while now, and then you got all these people back to work, I was furloughed, I was laid off, now I'm working, so all that chain of events not going to matter. They're going to be able to buy a house. And now you have this basically warehouse of buyers that are going to get back into the market. Interest rates are free. They really are. Historically, they're free. So I'm just telling you that could create, it's like people have been lining up to get into a store for a month, and then they open the doors. Everyone's running around. It's very possible we could have that kind of situation here. So if I'm working with buyers today, I'm going to tell them, buy your house now, like in June, because in July and August, it's going to be a whole different gig.
So what do you think about a low inventory market, extremely low inventory market, for people who are watching agents trying to sell in that market? What kind of challenge does that create, and how is that good for them, would you say?
Okay, as far as selling right now,
Yeah.
well, the challenge right now is you still have to put your house on the market at the right price, and you want to probably have an idea of where you're going to go. So it's possible today you can work those out where you go right out of where you are into where you want to go if you're staying in this market. And those are my favorite types of transactions.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's number one. Number two is, it's not going to be a matter of selling your house. It's going to be a matter of where you want to find it. So I would get really good at knowing our new construction inventory. And even right now, the next month, they've got people that backed out. They have homes that are done. You have an opportunity now in the next month to maybe get a slight little good of a deal on new construction that won't be there in a month or so.
Right.
So those types of things. But more importantly for the people that are watching this, they have to, if I haven't been working at building a pipeline and take inventory, there has never been a better time than now.
Yeah. So here's what I think. With regard to extremely low inventory, you might see the number of transactions continue to go down, the total number of transactions, because a house can't sell unless a house is listed.
Right.
Right? You can't buy a house, I mean, there's off-market deals, obviously, but for the general public, a house can't sell unless a house is listed. If their amount of listings is way lower, the total number of transactions is going to go down.
Right.
And like we were talking about before, that's challenging for agents because there's the same number of agents and there's less transactions happening. So it kind of dilutes the market. It makes it more difficult to do transactions unless you're a strong listing agent. If you're a strong listing agent, then everything improves. Everything gets easier. Your listings sell faster. You don't need to carry as much inventory. The whole process is smoother. You can do more transactions in the same amount of time. So we've always talked about the importance of developing the skills to become a listing agent. And it is more difficult. It's more difficult from a skills standpoint, from a rejection standpoint, from a personal development standpoint. It requires more time to become a listing agent. But that business is better long-term for a lot of different reasons. And in this type of market that's extremely low inventory, it's just easier to be a listing agent. You put a house in the market, it sells right away. If you're working with buyers, then you have a challenge, right? You have to compete against 10, 15 offers, and that's great. You can do it. If you're strong, you still have to be able to do it even as a listing agent because like you said, you're gonna have sellers that are selling and also buying, so you still need to know how to do that.
My favorite.
But that's why this business is all about, if you want to maximize your income and if you want to control your schedule and really scale your business up, it's all about becoming a listing agent.
Yeah, and it's funny because you answered this. Mike Ferry said the same thing yesterday when I asked him, why is it so hard to teach the newer agents that listings is where it's at? My first broker told me, you don't list, you won't last. Just like that, too. Old Greek guy. He was funny, George. And he was absolutely true.
Yeah, certain principles don't change.
So Mike gave me the same answer. He said, because we look at it as, well, if I'm working with a buyer, I'm not working on being productive. But if you're not learning the skills to become a listing agent, listings actually are easier. Then to get the point across with a new agent, I'll say to them, okay, how many buyers can you work at comfortably with right now? I don't know, 3. How many active listings could you have? 10. There's your answer.
Yeah, it's just a more scalable business. I say the same exact thing. If you have 2 to 3 active buyers, like really think about this. If you have 2 to 3 active buyers, not ones that are in contract, but people that just got pre-approved and they're actively looking. Those are people that require work pretty much every day because if someone's excited and they're out shopping, you're going to be talking to them every day, either getting ready to write offers, writing offers, getting offers rejected, writing new offers, counter offers, showing them property, going back to show them property again when their parents are there. You can really only handle, like you said, 2 to 3 of those at a time, and you're absolutely maxed. The other issue with buyers that makes it hard to scale is that you need to be in multiple places at the same time. You sometimes need to go to the inspection, you need to go to a final walkthrough, whereas when you're a listing agent, all those things can be delegated out. So with a buyer, I would say 2 to 3 at a time. Listings, you could do 20, 30. We see agents with 50 listings at a time. So it's just a more scalable business.
Yeah, it'd be really tough if you're a great listing agent like you to keep 50 active listings right now because they're going to sell so fast. It's more like you'd have more like 30 or 40 pending at one time.
50 total.
Which is a great, I know what you mean, which is great. I just wanted to clarify. The other thing is Dan just said this too, okay? So become a great listing agent requires skills. We're at the Success Center, perfect place to develop skills with Dan the Man here. Next thing is, if you're gonna work with buyers, people go, well, how would you work with buyers today? There has never been a time in the history of real estate as a licensed person to get a buyer-broker agreement signed than now. With all the stuff going on and the extra hoops you gotta deal through, it would be my pre-qualification process. It always was. I think it's easier for me than some of you because I've been doing this for 35 years. I've been around since before buyer agency existed and saw what that was like versus now, which is you have to hire me. You got to hire me. I mean, you can't put a listing in MLS unless they hire you. I can't work with you unless you hire me. I don't do the customer thing. I only do the client thing. It requires a fiduciary responsibility, and that's what I want to give you. I'm not going to shortchange you with the customer thing. Okay, so even if it's not me, pick somebody. So skills, take inventory, and if you're going to work with a buyer, make sure you're working with a buyer who's on the same page with you.
Yeah, get those BBA signed. I actually, it's funny, you had Mike on yesterday. I asked him once about getting BBA signed and, you know, if you should make an exception for certain people or family or friends and that whole thing. And you probably knew what his answer was, but his answer stuck with me. He said, because it transcends just the buyer thing, he said, I'm just not a big here and there type of guy. He's like, I just do things one way and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to run a business because when you start making these exceptions and say, oh, I'll have this person do it, I'll have this person not, A, it's unfair to the customer. You're not going to deliver the same level of service. My opinion is that if I'm working with a family member or a friend, I'm going to do everything the same that I would with any other customer and exceed it. I'm going to do even better. I'm not going to shortchange them like you said and just kind of take the easy route and just do things and not wear a suit and, you know, just I think they should get the same level of service as anyone else.
No, I firmly agree, and I'm laughing because I've seen Mike speak. I've heard all of his stories, and you know, I can just see him saying that to somebody too. Mike Ferry is the guy that used to go door knocking before cell phones with a pager, and if he was knocking on your door and his pager went off, he'd say, "Hey, can I borrow your phone for a minute?" And he'd walk in and use their kitchen phone.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, but today it's very black and white. I believe, you know, you have to treat everybody the same way. If I'm dealing with Paul or my family member or somebody I know, I'm going to say, Paul, listen, I need your permission to treat you like a professional here, like you need to be my client. It's even more important if I know you that we follow the rules 100%. Okay, so I need your permission to be a professional here, because if I can't do that, I can't work with you.
Yeah.
Does that sound fair?
I basically created my business because when I first started, 2015, I called a lot of expired listings. There were more then than there are now. There's still a lot now. And most of the deals that I got from calling expired listings were agents that had that scenario that didn't handle it right. Yeah. They worked with a family member or a friend or someone they knew and they took it for granted. They didn't treat them. And then when I called that seller, the seller said exactly what you just said. They said, well, I went with them because I knew them, but I think they kind of took it for granted and didn't really treat me the same, and they kind of just were slacking off and being lazy. So I built a business getting those deals that other agents kind of screwed up. Yeah. So the lesson there is, yeah, you want to treat them right from the beginning, and bottom line, don't make exceptions with the BBAs. I already told a story 2 weeks ago where I didn't do it. I had someone that came into town and then bought a for sale by owner listing, and I didn't get paid because I didn't get a BBA signed. That was an extreme example because this was the one lady on planet Earth that I thought would never do something like that, and she did it. So
and it's always the one.
Yep, that's always the.
Well, Dan will understand. You know, like that's by the way, your family members are even worse when it comes to that.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, it's funny you say that because when I was in San Diego, I listed 2 homes of people that got their real estate license just to sell their own home. They expired. My highest sale in San Diego when I was there for a year was a woman who owned a $2.7 million house that her and her husband built. And unfortunately, as soon as they were built and moved in, he passed away. So now she doesn't want to live there. So I went over and it was an expired listing, and I convinced her, there is not a person on the planet worse than you to try to sell this home with your emotional attachment to the house. And I did it very kindly, and she listed with us. We paid a referral fee, and it was 2 points. It was the highest deal I did while I was there. Okay, she was way overpriced. Could you imagine showing your own home to the? It doesn't even make sense. So we convinced her of that, and she listed with us. But yeah, it's, you know, people always ask me, well, why do listings expire? And I always go, I don't know, but thank God they do. And it's the worst thing you can do to a seller, but it's a tremendous lead source for you guys.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. So tying it all together, that's something to work on to build your inventory. That's a great source of leads. Mm-hmm. Me and Sierra are going to talk about that today, some expired listings and how to do better with those. So yeah, that's the bottom line is if you want to be successful in this business long term, you have to become a listing agent and work on your listing inventory. That's the number one thing that you should be working on. And you get other benefits from that. If you're new, yes, you should be working with buyers. Whenever I say this, people always say the same thing. They say, oh, you're telling us not to work with buyers. I like working with buyers. I'm not saying not to work with buyers. What I'm saying is you have to make sacrifices in the short term and start developing those skills. You have to start building that trajectory to becoming a listing agent, because it's easier in the beginning to just work with buyers. It's very easy to ignore that and just say, oh, well, I have a few buyers today, I'm just going to take them out, and that's great. But if you don't set aside the time and really prioritize developing your skills, you're never going to develop that pipeline that you need to really get your business to increase. So we see this with agents that get caught in this wheel where they do the same number of transactions every year. They're maybe increasing a little bit, they're getting some repeat and referrals, but they're not really developing the skills that they need to expand their business.
Amen. I love it. And the thing is that that's so true. So my rule of thumb when I started the business, okay, is don't work with buyers in the morning. That's your prospecting time. In the afternoon is appointments. It can be buyers, and at first it probably will. Look, you're looking at somebody here. I started when I was 19. My first full year in the business was 20 and 21 years of age. I did not list a home until my 3rd year in the business. Did I tell you this?
I didn't know that.
17 deals my first year, 23 all buyers. And I was rookie of the year. I was one of the top people in my board in my office my 2nd year, and I was almost thinking about getting out of the business, because if you're only working with buyers, you're almost certifiably insane, right? Because they drive you crazy. So if you add a help, then I figured out, and this was with the help of Mike Ferry when I went to see them here in Vegas, was that if you're taking listings, over half the listings you take are going to end up being buyers once you sell them, make them homeless, sell them, right? Then they're the easiest buyers to deal with because you already have them as a client.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. I hope you guys kind of caught that. To make this pragmatic, just do that. Just do until noon listings, after 12 buyers.
Yeah.
Real simple.
Yeah.
Or after 12 listing appointments if you have a listing appointment. But there's really no reason to not do that, right? And that puts the priority in the right place, because we all know that things that don't get done early in the day typically don't get done ever, right? So if you want to start developing those skills, don't wait till later on to say, oh, well, if I have extra time, I'll squeeze my role play in, I'll squeeze my prospecting in. That's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
You have to prioritize it, and then in the afternoon, there's plenty of time between 12 and 9 o'clock at night to show property, right? So I would just do that.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be, so people always go, well, how do you do that when the buyer wants to see the, I'll go, okay, let's role play it. Rick, can you show me the house at 11? Ooh, I've got an appointment at 11, but I can show it at 1. Okay, we'll see it at 1. It's really that simple.
Yeah, I just made a joke with my friend about this, because he always asks me, like, Dan, how do you do that? Like, how do you get them to, and it's like, just ask.
Yeah.
Usually and people are surprised too that I have listing appointments at specific times. I meet with sellers at 1 and 3. And people ask me all the time, like, how do you do that? And it's just, you just ask them, hey, what works better for you, 1 or 3? And people will agree. They
pick one
time, yeah.
Yeah, we overthink this.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys think that, it's okay to control your, as a matter of fact, I recommend it.
Yeah.
You okay? It's like when I used to do a little talk at conventions, when I did breakouts at Mike Ferry, I would say, I would call it selling is legal, okay? Selling is legal. It's ethical, it's moral, and the more somebody has to be in charge, it might as well be you, since you're the licensed professional.
Completely
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, don't be afraid to take control.
Take control, baby. Woo! And take control of your schedule and come down here to the Success Center. It's open now.
Yep, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock every day but Tuesday, because you're at your office meeting or on Zoom watching it.
That's it.
Thanks for your time, folks.